Welcome to the Nightmare Index. Case file 005 is now opened. When the sun goes down and most people sleep, others clock in. 5 people who discovered that working the night shift means sharing the building with something else. If you love our stories, ensure to subscribe, like and hit the notification bell to receive updates on new case files. Now let's begin. Caspian started his security job at Hendricks Tower in February 2023. 12-hour overnight shifts, Sunday through Wednesday. The building housed insurance companies, law firms, accounting offices. Nothing exciting. Just empty floors and flickering screens. His supervisor, a gruff man named Paulson, gave him the orientation on his first night. You'll patrol every 2 hours. Floors 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Check the locks, check the bathrooms, log it in the book. Questions. What about the 3rd floor? Paulson's expression didn't change. There is no 3rd floor. But I counted the windows from outside. 6 floors. The building has 5 floors. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. That's your route. Why isn't there those are your floors? Paulson's tone made it clear the conversation was finished. Caspian wanted to push back, but he needed this job. He nodded and took the keys. That first week went smoothly. He'd do his rounds, listen to podcasts, eat his lunch in the security office. Easy money. The building was quiet. Almost peaceful at night. But he couldn't stop thinking about the 3rd floor. The elevator had no button for it. The stairwell had a door marked 3, but it was chained shut from the outside, padlocked, with a sign reading, "Structural damage, authorized personnel only." Through the narrow window in the door, he could see only darkness. On his 8th night, during his 3 a.m. rounds, Caspian stopped at that door. He pressed his face to the glass, shining his flashlight through. The beam revealed an office space. Normal desks, normal chairs, normal computers. No structural damage. No renovation equipment. Just an office floor. Intact and furnished. But covered in dust. Thick dust. Like no one had been up there in years. His radio crackled. You at the stairwell?" Paulson's voice. But Caspian hadn't called in. How did he know? "Yeah, just doing my rounds." "Keep moving. Don't spend time there." Just keep moving." The radio went silent. Caspian continued his patrol, but something nagged at him. The building directory in the lobby listed companies on floors 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. No mention of floor 3. But online, he found archived articles about Hendricks Tower. A 2008 newspaper piece mentioned 6 floors of premium office space. Something happened between 2008 and now. He started researching. Found a brief mention in a 2011 city planning document, Hendricks Tower. Following the incident, has sealed the 3rd floor pending investigation. What incident? 2 weeks into the job, Caspian made a decision. He was going to see the 3rd floor. He waited until his 5 a.m. rounds, the dead zone when even Paulson seemed to doze off. Caspian had noticed the padlock on the 3rd floor door was old, corroded. He had bolt cutters in his car for emergencies. The chain snapped easier than expected, dropping to the concrete with a sound that made him freeze. He waited, listening. No radio call. No footsteps. He pulled open the door. The smell hit him first. Not decay, not rot. Just old air. Air that hadn't moved in years. Stale and thick. His flashlight revealed an ordinary office floor. Cubicles arranged in neat rows. Computers on desks, phones, coffee mugs, picture frames. Everything where it should be. But wrong. Every computer screen was on. All of them. Glowing in the darkness with the same image, a login screen dated March 17, 2011. 14 years ago. The computers had been running for 14 years. No. That was impossible. But the fans were humming. The screens were bright. Power flowing through machines that should have died years ago. Caspian walked between the cubicles. On one desk, a calendar still showed March 2011. Appointments written in, budget meeting 2 p.m., call Henderson Re, Peterson account, normal office stuff. In a coffee mug, liquid that might have once been coffee. Now reduced to a dark residue at the bottom, surrounded by mold that had grown and died and fossilized. This floor had been abandoned midday. People just left. And never came back. He found the conference room. The door was closed but unlocked. Inside, papers scattered across the table like a meeting had been interrupted. A projector still running, throwing a blue screen against the wall. On the whiteboard, someone had written in frantic handwriting, "It's in the walls, it knows we're here, don't let it." The message cut off mid-word, the marker dropped on the floor beneath it. Caspian's mouth went dry. His radio crackled. "We're." Paulson's voice was barely a whisper. "Get out of there. Right now." "How do you get out?" A sound stopped Caspian's heart. Behind him. From somewhere in the cubicles. Movement. Not footsteps. Something dragging. Something heavy being pulled across carpet. He spun around, flashlight sweeping across empty cubicles. Nothing there. But the sound continued. Closer. Caspian backed toward the conference room wall. The dragging sound circled around him, moving between cubicles he couldn't see into from his position. Then he saw it. A shape. Low to the ground. Moving behind the cube walls, visible only as a shadow passing under the gaps at the bottom. Too long to be a person crawling. Too fluid. It was circling him. Getting closer with each pass. His radio, the door, "We're." "Move now." Caspian ran. Sprinted through the cubicles, his flashlight beam bouncing wildly. Behind him, the dragging sound accelerated, matching his pace. He hit the stairwell door so hard it slammed against the wall. Stumbled through, grabbed the handle to pull it shut and saw it. In the doorway. A figure. Tall. Impossibly tall, hunched to fit under the ceiling. Skin gray and tight over bones. Arms too long, fingers too many. Face blank except for a mouth that opened vertically instead of horizontally. It reached for him. Caspian yanked the door shut. The lock clicked. Through the window, he watched the thing press against the glass, its mouth working silently. Then it stepped backward into the darkness and was gone. Caspian collapsed on the stairs, hyperventilating. His radio buzzed. "You saw it." Paulson's voice was tired. Resigned. What was? Why do you think there's no third floor? Why do you think we sealed it? That thing, those people in 2011. 73 employees. Normal Wednesday. 2:47 p.m., something came through the walls. Started in the center of the floor and spread outward. 17 people made it to the stairwells. Everyone else. Where did it come from? We don't know. Hazmat teams went in. Found nothing. No bodies, no traces, no explanation. Just empty desks and computers still running. Building owners decided to seal it. Pretend the floor doesn't exist. Cheaper than tearing down a perfectly good building. And it's still in there. Silence. Then, it never leaves. It just waits. Sometimes we hear it through the vents. Sometimes the computers on other floors glitch and show images of that floor. We've learned to ignore it. I'm done. I quit. You won't quit. They never do. Where else are you going to make this much for walking around empty buildings? You'll convince yourself it was a hallucination. Stress. Bad food. That's what everyone does. Paulson was right. Caspian didn't quit. He told himself it was the stress, the late hours, his imagination. He avoided the third-floor stairwell, took the elevator for his rounds. Everything went back to normal. Zephyr Novak took a nursing job at Millbrook Regional Hospital, night shift in the ICU. 3 12-hour shifts per week, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The work was demanding, critically ill patients requiring constant monitoring, but the pay differential for nights made it worth it. Her preceptor, an older nurse named Beverly, walked her through the unit on her first orientation night. We have 12 beds. 6 on the left wing, 6 on the right. Rooms 101 through 112. You'll take the left wing tonight. Zephyr counted the rooms as they walked. 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106. Then 107. There's no room between 106 and 107, Zephyr said. Beverly didn't slow down. Correct. 12 rooms total. But the hallway is longer than it should be. There's space for another room there. Old construction quirk. Storage space, mechanical room, something like that. Not part of the unit. But Zephyr had worked in enough hospitals to know what a patient room looked like from the outside. That was a patient room. With the door sealed. Painted over to match the wall, but the frame is still visible if you looked closely. That night, during her 2 a.m. checks, she paused at the sealed door. Pressed her ear against it. Beeping. Faint, but unmistakable. A heart monitor. Someone was in there. She found Beverly at the nurse's station. There's a patient in the sealed room. Beverly's typing stopped. No. I hear the monitor, you don't. Beverly, I've been a nurse for 6 years. I know what a heart monitor, Zephyr. Beverly's voice dropped. You don't hear anything. That room doesn't exist. You will never mention it again. Not to me, not to other staff, not to anyone. Understood? What kind of place are you running here? If there's a patient, there isn't. Then what's beeping? Beverly closed her eyes. When she opened them, she looked exhausted. Defeated. When I started here, I asked the same questions. They told me what I'm telling you, forget that room. Go home. Come back tomorrow. Do your job. Some things in hospitals, we don't discuss. Zephyr wanted to push, but she needed this job. She let it go. For 3 weeks. But every night, during her rounds, she heard it. The heart monitor. Steady. Consistent. 72 beats per minute, never varying. Then one night, it flatlined. That long, continuous tone. The sound every nurse dreads. Zephyr's training kicked in before her brain could stop her. She ran to the sealed door and pushed. It shouldn't have opened, it was painted shut, but it swung inward easily. Room 0 was identical to every other ICU room. Hospital bed, monitors, ventilator, 4 poles. Everything where it should be. And in the bed, a patient. An old woman, maybe 70, connected to every machine. Ventilator tube in her throat, lines in her arms, monitor leads on her chest. The heart monitor showed a flat line. Zephyr checked for a pulse. Nothing. Started chest compressions. I need help in here. I need. The woman's eyes opened. Not like someone waking up. Like someone who'd been awake the whole time, just waiting. Her mouth moved around the ventilator tube, trying to speak. Zephyr stopped compressions, leaned closer. The woman's whisper was barely audible, "Don't, let me, restart." The heart monitor's flatline continued. But the woman was conscious. Moving. Her eyes tracking Zephyr with desperate intensity. Run. The woman breathed. The monitor suddenly showed a rhythm. 72 beats per minute. The same steady rhythm as before. But the woman's chest wasn't moving. No breathing. No pulse under Zephyr's fingers. The monitor showed life. The body showed death. The ventilator continued its rhythmic breathing, pushing air into lungs that didn't need it. The woman's mouth moved again. "They won't let me die, been here, since, hospital opened. 1987, 1987. 36 years. That's impossible, no one can, every night, someone new, tries to save me. Please, unplug." Zephyr's hands moved to the ventilator cord. The woman's eyes filled with hope. The door slammed shut behind her. Beverly stood in the doorway. "Step away from the patient. She's been here for 36 years. Beverly, what the hell is, she's not a patient anymore. She's something else. And you don't interfere. She's conscious. She's suffering. If you unplug her, you'll learn exactly what she's become. The machines aren't keeping her alive. They're keeping her contained." Zephyr looked at the woman. Her expression had changed. The hope was gone. Now there was warning in her eyes. "Beverly's right," the woman whispered. "I wanted to die. Begged them. Then I found out, death isn't the worst thing. I found out what comes after." "What comes after?" The woman's monitor spiked. 200 beats per minute. The ventilator wheezed. "Don't let me show you." Beverly grabbed Zephyr's arm. "We're leaving. Now. I can't just, you can. You will. Because if those machines stop, what's keeping her stable stops. And what comes out of that body isn't her anymore." They left. The door sealed behind them with a sound like suction. Zephyr reported to the administration. They had no record of room 0. No record of any patient matching that description. No admission paperwork, no charts, nothing. But the power bill showed it. An unexplained constant drain. Machines have been running non-stop since 1987. 3 other nurses confirmed they'd seen the room. All had been warned the same way. None of them quit. "You get used to it," they said. "You learn not to look at that section of the wall." Zephyr stayed for another 6 months. Driven to reach the financial goal she'd set for herself. Each night, the heartbeat monitor haunted her, its steady beeps, followed by a falter, then the chilling tremor of a flat line twice more. She never returned inside, she left when the 6 months ended and never set foot there again. Yet the memories persisted, stubborn and vivid. They lingered not as a constant presence in a single room, but as echoes, the soft clatter of trays, the whisper of distant voices, the sterile scent that clung to her clothes, and the image of the monitor's glow against the dark. Indigo Foss was a baker. Not the cute artisan kind, industrial production baking for a regional grocery chain. Start time, 11 p.m. Clock out, 7 a.m. Make 400 loaves of bread, 200 dozen rolls, assorted pastries. Alone. The bakery was efficient. Everything measured, timed, systematic. Indigo would prep ingredients, start dough batches, load ovens on timers. A well-choreographed routine she could do half asleep. Which is why she noticed when someone started helping. It began subtle. She'd turn from the mixer to find flour already measured into the next bowl. Temperature probes placed exactly where she needed them. Oven racks pulled out before she reached for them. Her first thought, she was moving through tasks automatically. Forgetting she'd already done them. Muscle memory so ingrained she didn't remember performing the actions. But then she found the footprints. Flour dust covered the floor, inevitable in a bakery. At 3 a.m., during her first break, Indigo noticed 2 sets of prints. Different sizes. Hers, and someone smaller. She was alone in the building. She checked the security footage on her phone. The bakery had cameras for insurance purposes. Rewound to 2 a.m. On screen, Indigo working at the prep table. Behind her, a figure. Translucent, barely visible. Mimicking her movements exactly, 3 seconds delayed. When Indigo reached for a bowl, the figure reached for the same bowl 3 seconds later. When Indigo turned left, the figure turned left after a pause. Learning her routine. Indigo watched herself on camera, oblivious to the figure shadowing her every move. For 2 hours it had been there, growing slightly more solid with each minute. She dropped her phone. On the floor, the screen still showed the live feed. In the image, the figure stood behind the version of her looking at the phone. Indigo spun around. Nothing. Back to the phone. On camera, the figure remained. Closer now. Inches from her back. She could feel cold air where it stood. Indigo grabbed her keys and walked toward the exit. She'd done this job for 3 years without incident, but she wasn't stupid. Something wrong meant leaving. The figure appeared in front of her. Not on the camera. In reality. Solid now. Physical. A woman, maybe 40, wearing a stained bakery uniform. Hair covered by a net. Face pale, eyes sunken but focused. Looking directly at Indigo. "Please," the woman said. "Let me finish." Indigo backed against the prep table. "Who are you?" "I was the baker. Before you. I need to finish my shift." "What happened to you?" The woman looked down at her uniform. A dark stain spread across the chest. Not flour. Something darker. Accident. The mixer. I leaned too close, and my uniform caught. By the time they shut it off, but I hadn't finished. 380 loaves. Still had 20 to go. Couldn't leave them undone. When did this happen? 7 years ago. But I keep coming back. Every night. To finish. 20 more loaves. That's all. Then I can rest. Indigo's heart hammered. So finish them. Why are you talking to me? The woman's expression crumbled. I can't. I've tried. Every night I come back, work through my routine, but when I get to the 20th loaf, I can't finish. I can't remember how. The knowledge is gone. I need to see someone do it. Need to remember the process. You want me to bake while you watch? Please. Then I can complete it. Then I can stop coming back. Indigo weighed her options. Keep a ghost company while baking bread, or run screaming and get fired. She needed this job. Rent was due. Fine. But stay where I can see you. The woman's relief was palpable. She stepped aside. Indigo worked, hyper-aware of the ghost watching her every movement. Measuring, mixing, kneading, shaping. The woman's eyes tracked each action with desperate intensity. By 5 a.m., Indigo had completed her production. 400 loaves. 200 dozen rolls. The woman smiled. Thank you. Now I remember. Now I can. She froze. Her smile faded. What's wrong? Indigo asked. There's another step. After the baking. Something I'm forgetting. Something important. What step? I don't. I can't. The woman's form flickered. No. No, I need more time. I need to remember what comes after. After baking. We package and load delivery trucks. That's it. No. Something else. Something. The woman's eyes widened. The cleaning. I forgot the cleaning protocol. If I don't complete the cleaning, my shift isn't done. Show me. Please. Show me the cleaning. Indigo glanced at the clock. 5:30 a.m. She normally cleaned from 6 to 7. I'll clean. You watch. She started the cleaning routine. Wiping down prep surfaces. Sweeping flour. Sanitizing equipment. The woman watched, her form stabilizing as she absorbed each action. Yes. Yes, I remember now. This is how. This is, she stopped. Stared at the industrial mixer. That's where it happened, she whispered. I was cleaning the mixer. Reached inside to get the last bit of dough. My sleeve caught. Pulled me in. She turned to Indigo. I need to clean the mixer. No, Indigo said firmly. I'll clean it. You just watch. I need to do it myself. To prove I can. To prove it won't happen again. It already happened. You died. Then I need to prove I can complete the task that killed me. Otherwise, I'll be here forever, afraid of the mixer, never able to finish, never able to rest. Indigo understood. Trauma needed closure. Okay. But unplug it first. The woman approached the mixer. The massive industrial machine loomed over her, its mixing bowl large enough for a person to climb inside. She reached for the plug. Her hand passed through it. I can't, she said. Voice breaking. I can't touch it. I can only do the tasks I did when I was alive. When I reached for the plug then, it was too late. So now I can't reach it. Indigo unplugged the machine. There. It's safe. The woman nodded gratefully and began cleaning the mixer, reaching into the bowl with a cloth, wiping down the mixing arm. Everything was fine. Until the machine turned on. Impossible, It was unplugged. But the motor roared to life, the mixing arm beginning its rotation. The woman's cloth caught. Her eyes met Indigo's. Not fear. Recognition. "This is why I couldn't remember," she whispered as the machine pulled her forward. "Because I'm still living it. I never finished dying. I'm stuck in the moment between catching and..." The mixing arm completed its rotation. The woman vanished. The mixer stopped. Indigo stood frozen, breathing hard. Looked at the plug. Still disconnected, lying on the floor. She quit via text message. Didn't go back for her final paycheck. And didn't care. Marlo Ashford hosted the overnight show at WXRT, a talk radio station in a mid-sized Midwest city. His shift ran from midnight to 6 a.m., where he explored everything from local news to bizarre conspiracy theories. The late-night slot had the lowest ratings, but it granted him immense creative freedom, a solace he cherished in the quiet darkness of the studio. One night, Marlo opened the phone lines. "WXRT, you're on the air with Marlo." An elderly woman's voice trembled through the receiver. "They're in my walls." "Who's in your walls, ma'am?" he asked, intrigued. "The broadcast." "Your broadcast. I hear you inside my walls." "Not through a radio, inside the walls." Speaking backwards. Marlo had encountered confused callers before and tried to reassure her. "You might want to check if you have a radio on somewhere in your..." "I don't own a radio. Not for 30 years. But I hear you. Every night. You and the others." "What others?" he pressed. "The ones who hosted before you. They're all still here, broadcasting at once. Talking over one another. Inside the walls." The line went dead. Marlo shook off the eerie sensation and moved to the next caller, who discussed local road construction. But soon, another odd voice broke through. "Marlo, do you know how many people have died in that building?" "Excuse me?" he replied, puzzled. "The building you're in. Do you know its history?" "It's an old office building. Built in the 1920s. 12 people. Various incidents, a fire in 1931, a murder in 1947, and suicides. All on the 3rd floor. Where are you?" Chills crept down Marlo's spine. "That's interesting trivia. Thanks for the call, you're not alone up there, Marlo. Check the audio feed. Listen closely to what's underneath your voice." The call disconnected abruptly, leaving Marlo unsettled. During a break, he pulled up the raw audio files, isolating his voice. As he played it back, he was startled to hear whispers mingling with his words, faint but distinct. Increasing the gain, he filtered out his voice. The whispers became clearer. "Help us. Still here, trapped in the signal." Panic surged through him. There were no open channels on his board, no explanation for the voices lurking beneath. At 2 a.m., the internal phone rang, a rarity. Marlo answered, heart racing. "WXRT, he said. His own voice echoed from the receiver. "Marlo, get out of the building." "Who is this?" he stammered. "It's you. From tomorrow night. You need to leave. Right now. Before 2:14. This isn't funny. Who gave you this number?" "I'm not joking. I'm you, 24 hours from now. Something happens at 2:14. It traps you. I'm calling to warn you. Please, leave now." Marlo's blood ran cold. Prove you're me. Tell me something only I would know. There's a letter in your left drawer. The bottom. From your dad. You've never opened it. You keep meaning to, but you're afraid. No one knew about that letter. How? Because I just checked. I didn't listen. I stayed. At 2:14, I became part of it. I can't leave. I've been here for 24 hours, trying to warn you. Please, leave. The line went dead. Marlowe glanced at the clock, 2:11 a.m. 3 minutes. This was insane. He stood up, grabbed his keys, but the studio door wouldn't budge. Locked from the outside. He pulled harder, panic rising. 2:12 a.m. The on-air sign flickered, the lights dimmed. His monitors showed wild waveforms, shapes that resembled words. Whispers grew louder, echoing through the walls, "Welcome to the broadcast. You'll love it here." 2:13 a.m. Marlowe rushed to the window, but it was too high to jump. He grabbed the office chair, intending to smash the glass, but it wouldn't move, anchored to the floor. Everything felt solid, like he was trapped in a nightmare. At 2:14 a.m., the microphone activated on its own, and Marlowe's voice filled the studio. "Good morning, night owls. This is Marlowe Ashford, and you're listening to the overnight show on WXRT. Got a great show planned for you tonight." His voice was being controlled by something sinister. He was powerless, watching as his body took calls and responded flawlessly, while he remained frozen in place. Hours slipped by. At 6 a.m., he signed off. "This has been Marlowe Ashford. Join me tomorrow night at midnight. Until then, stay strange, night owls." The microphone clicked off, and he could move again. He stumbled to the door, which opened easily now. He dashed down the stairs and burst into the street, the dawn breaking around him. Standing outside, Marlowe felt the full force of his experiences wash over him, yet a gentle warmth enveloped his face, bringing a profound sense of relief and freedom. Kestrel Vance drove for a small package delivery company, not one of the big names, but a regional overnight courier service. She loved the solitude of her night shifts, starting at 9 p.m. and typically making 20 to 30 deliveries across the city, documents, medical supplies, emergency parts, without ever interacting with a customer. It was straightforward work, good money, and perfect for someone who preferred to keep to herself. But one night, everything changed. As she loaded her van and checked her manifest, the first 18 deliveries went smoothly. However, around 1:45 a.m., her scanner pinged with a new address, 4737, Millbrook Lane. She had never heard of it. The GPS took longer than usual to calculate the route, finally directing her to a 40-minute drive to the outskirts of the city. That's strange, she thought. The algorithm usually optimized routes better than this, especially at such a late hour. Still, the scanner indicated it was a priority delivery required before 3:30 a.m. Kestrel shrugged and drove onward. The route led her away from the bustling city, through industrial areas and past the airport, into quiet suburbs. The streetlights became sparser, the houses more isolated. By the time she reached Millbrook Lane, Kestrel hadn't seen another car for 20 minutes. Millbrook Lane turned out to be a long, gravel driveway cutting through dense woods, with no streetlights, only her headlights illuminating the dark. As she drove deeper, an old Victorian house emerged from the shadows, lights flickering inside as if welcoming her. Kestrel approached the porch, package in hand. Before she could knock, the door swung open, revealing a middle-aged man in a suit. "Right on time." "Thank you," He smiled, but something about the way he smiled sent a shiver down her spine. She handed him the package, and he signed her scanner with a string of numbers, 453-7493. Is that correct? Kestrel asked, her unease growing. Perfectly correct. Have a safe drive back, he said, closing the door before she could ask anything further. Something felt off. Once back in the van, Kestrel checked her scanner, expecting to see 8 deliveries left. Instead, it showed 28 packages remaining. Her heart raced as she counted the stacks in the back, 37 packages. Panic tightened her chest. Then, a new delivery notification flashed on the screen, 4738, Millbrook Lane, required before 3:45 a.m. She glanced back at the house. No other houses had been in sight, but now there was another building, identical to the first. Kestrel's hands shook as she drove forward. The same routine played out at 4738, and then 4739, and 4740. Each house was the same, each resident greeted her with the same eerie smile, and each signed with that same string of numbers, as the number of packages in her van grew inexplicably with each delivery. By 4 a.m., Kestrel had lost track of time and reason, her scanner now showing 83 packages remaining. The GPS was blank, no roads, no landmarks, just her blinking icon in a void. The radio crackled to life, a calm voice announcing she was on the Millbrook route, which had no scheduled end time. Kestrel screamed at the radio, "Let me out. I quit." The voice responded coldly, "Early termination incurs penalties as outlined in your employment contract. Please continue deliveries. Your performance is being monitored and appreciated." Every effort to escape failed. The path ahead was swallowed by darkness, and the only option was to drive forward into the abyss of Millbrook Lane. Hours passed, deliveries blurred together, and the packages never stopped multiplying. With each stop, she felt her will to resist waning. By 6 a.m., she had delivered to house 4813, with 167 packages remaining. It was perpetual night, and the realization of her entrapment began to sink in. When she finally reached house 5000, the door opened to reveal a figure standing there, not quite human, wearing her company uniform, and smiling with her own face. "Right on time. Thank you," it said. "You've completed orientation. Welcome to Route Millbrook. You'll be making deliveries here permanently." Kestrel felt a cold dread grip her heart. "No. I won't be part of this." The doppelganger shook its head. The smile unwavering. "You can't leave. You've been part of the route since house 4737. Every package you delivered became part of you. You'll deliver forever." As the door closed, Kestrel's vision blurred, and she was suddenly outside her van, standing alone in a forest clearing, the oppressive darkness closing in around her. With a surge of determination, she took off running through the trees, ignoring the whispers of the houses behind her. She sprinted until she stumbled into a clearing, where the sun began to rise, illuminating her path. The world felt real again, and the oppressive weight lifted as she emerged onto a deserted road. Panting and shaken, Kestrel looked back at the forest. Millbrook Lane had vanished behind her, replaced by the soft morning light. She fumbled for her phone, calling dispatch to explain what had happened, but she found it oddly quiet. When she finally returned home, she realized she needed a change. The experience had shattered her sense of normalcy. Within days, Kestrel resigned from her delivery job, vowing never to return to the night shifts. Instead, she found work at a local bookstore, surrounded by people, stories, and light, far removed from the haunting shadows of Millbrook Lane. Kestrel often thought back to that night, the packages that multiplied like a nightmare from which she had barely escaped. This is the Nightmare Index. Case file 005 is closed. Ensure to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our stories.